Sinuman maningyari eliyat na deva
We're in a field in the beautiful Lothersdale. The sun is shining and the green of the grass is looking particularly radiant.
So it seems like you really had something to say, Neil, because you were talking about this, you were linking different things which I thought was very important about health and land and stories and people saying things.
Yeah, it was really looking at how we live our lives in terms of the stories that we're told. So we're told that the land belongs to somebody else. We're told that we have a certain illness or disease and we need these drugs to cure it. We're told different things and we attach to that a belief, and when we give it a belief it then has a power, and it has a power in what happens and what manifests. But when we give it the power, we give it the power from ourselves, and that takes away the power from us. So the power is now in the story that the land belongs to somebody else, or that I have asthma and I can't breathe unless I have these inhalers, or whatever it might be. But we give that personal power away to an idea and a concept that then manifests. And the whole idea of what I'm saying is that you have to be aware of the stories that you're told and the belief systems that you attach yourself to. And I think one thing, as Wilson said, never fully believe anybody else's belief system, never fully believe your own belief system.
That's an interesting idea.
And be wary of belief systems and what they mean for you in your life and how they manifest in your life. And be aware that you have the power to create yourself, and by creating yourself, it's the idea that you do then start to manifest yourself, and people perhaps lose faith in that idea because they think, well, if I can create myself, I should be able to snap my fingers and it appears and it happens. And I don't think it works like that. I think just as a curse takes time to manifest in yourself, so does your creation take time to manifest as well. But if you can put your power into creating what you do want in the world and what you do want in life, and let go of the things that you don't want and perhaps the stories you've been told that aren't true, that's how we can start together to create a new world.
Right. This does link in very strongly with something that Jamie was saying at the end of the last retreat up at the Octagon. And he was using specific language. He actually said, "Men lie. Don't pay attention to what men say, but pay attention to what your own truth is."
Yeah.
And I thought that was very helpful. He's a modern day heretic, because what he's doing is he's taking the... I'm always very interested by what it is that we all take at face value without ever questioning. So one of the things that I'm aware of that I've taken at face value all my life is, all my life I believe that sun which I can see up there is 93 million miles away, and that's it. That this is a planet and it's round and it's called the Earth, and it goes round the sun, and the Earth is a tiny little solar system tucked away on the scrag end of the Milky Way galaxy in the far outer reaches of God knows where. And yet what he's suggesting is that maybe none of that's the case, and in fact if you rely upon your own senses, then perhaps you might start to realise that maybe things aren't the way you think they are at all. So I had an experience recently. I flew to Sri Lanka on the aeroplane, and on that aeroplane at about 4:30 in the morning, I witnessed, for the first time in my life, I witnessed dawn at 40,000 feet. I never witnessed dawn at 40,000 feet ever before in my life. And so one of the things I noticed now, I was not close to the window, so I didn't have a device, so I didn't bother to film any of these things, because it wasn't easy to see. But craning my neck over at the window and looking as hard as I could, what I noticed when I looked out of that window is, first of all, that the horizon appeared to be completely flat. And the next thing I noticed was it was as if someone had got a paintbrush and taken a deep red paint and just painted a flat line on the horizon, and then taken another brush and painted orange and then yellow and then a green wash and then blue and indigo and violet, and that was the dawn. I have never seen dawn anything like that in my entire life, but one of the things that did strike me about this is that it appeared to be as flat as a pancake. And yet I've always been led to believe that I'm on a round ball which is actually rotating at an incredibly fast speed, like over 1,000 miles per hour. And yet when I'm sitting here with the wind blowing in my face, it feels like I'm actually on a flat planet with hills. But the sense of what I've been taught, what I've seen in all my geography and science textbooks all my life, doesn't actually fit with what I'm experiencing in my daily life. And it certainly didn't fit with what I could see out of that aeroplane at 40,000 feet. That was a big surprise. But I like about what you were saying about be careful about the stories that other people tell you, and also, even more important, be careful about the stories you tell yourself. That's a good one too.
Well, that's a big one, isn't it? The biggest lies you'll ever hear are the lies that you'll tell yourself.
I think it's these belief systems that people get often can get attached to beliefs, and they hold on to them, and they become really sacred. And I think, like you were saying, become part of the person. Is the beliefs that become attachments.
So these beliefs which become attachments become our identity.
Yeah.
And I got this really personal experience of this because only last night I finally started to let go of the resurgence of an illness which I've for 10 years called ME. And for the last 2 or 3 months, all the symptoms of that illness started to appear. And I'll be really blunt, I was so frightened of the possibility of having ME back that I did everything I could to ignore that and to not buy into that story that I used to tell myself for 10 years. And yet in the end, thanks to a couple of posts that somebody put up on Facebook and personal messages, suggested, well, could you have ME again? And it seemed like, well, yeah, all the symptoms are here. They really are. And what I'm having to accept is that I started to tell myself that same story as I told myself 10 years ago. And there is a kind of a truth in it for me. And what I realise is that I have to go all the way back to when I was literally 10. So I was a 10-year-old boy. And at that time I experienced a fundamental disempowerment. And that disempowerment was so great that any sense of feeling that I have no power just causes me to go into collapse mode, and that's literally what happened when I got the ME in the first place. And so when I realised last night there is something I can do about what to me is a world problem, and the world problem as I see is there are refugees, there are people stuck in various places, they don't want to be there but they can't go forward, they can't go back, and unless people the likes of you and me do something to help them, they're going to die. And there is a reason for this, because there's something called Project Human Extinction, which is there is a deliberate policy to kill as many human beings as possible, and that is a pretty scary thing to even begin to look at. And so I could see that me becoming disempowered actually meant that this is to do with something tied into me happening a long time ago, and it was fear, it was cowardice, it was fear of making a stand. Because something happened to me as a kid that taught me it wasn't safe to do that. And when I started to tune into the fact that there are people today that are doing things to help these refugees in different parts of the world, and I could finally see there was a tiny little thing I could do to help, then my disempowerment just vanished, and I found my energy coming back. I've not been able to go into wild nature for many weeks, and last night I went on a walk and I walked into wild nature, not being capable, and I linked that because actually I could see there was something useful I could do, which means that my old story about myself as having no power was actually being challenged, thank goodness, by circumstances. So I think Neil's got it on the head there about we have to be very careful about what we believe about what other people tell us, but perhaps even more careful about what we believe that we tell ourselves.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think the belief system is something that's been we've been used to having a belief system, and it's been been built into our kind of essence. But I think that's slowly going, and I think people are beginning to realise that there's it's not just a belief system it's not a belief system that's important. It's sort of an innate knowing that's more important.
Right, so the belief system is less important, the innate knowing is more important. So in that case, what can we do to increase our sense of innate knowing? Has anyone got any ideas about that?
I think being in touch with your own heart is the key to that, and being able to listen to it, being able to talk with it, and not being closed off from it is extremely important. The other thing is a concept that I came across recently, which is infinite possibility. Something that you've talked about a lot, Keith. And really that's the only belief system you will ever need. Because when you believe in infinite possibility, you believe in everything and nothing at the same time.
Thank you for reminding me about something which I find very easy to forget about completely.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's really the key, the letting go of a lot of the belief systems that we hang on to for dear life, and perhaps for comfort, perhaps through fear, who knows. But if we can let go of those and embrace the concept of infinite possibility, then we can take our power back and maybe see things start to change.
Well, let me push you a bit. Infinite possibility, what does that mean? Keep it simple. What does that mean if you embrace that?
That anything could be true or false at any given time. That anything could or couldn't happen. For instance, we're pretty centered on the idea that the Earth is round and it's going around the sun and we're in this universe. But what if it wasn't? What if this was all just one big illusion that we've been plugged into? What if anything? And I think that's being open to the idea of infinite possibility means that there aren't really any true or falses. There aren't really any ideas that are fixed, and everything is open to change, and everything is open to being proven right, proven wrong, and even then changing again. It really is a constant state of flux.
Well, then I want to use that opportunity to hang on to one belief system. This is the only belief system I've got left. Everything changes.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Do you want to add anything to what you just said?
No, just about the innate knowing. I'll just it's just something that can develop with practice in trying to discover oneself. I think, as Neil was saying as well, you're trying to get to know yourself, and then in that develops an innate knowing, being comfortable with themselves, and and not having a belief system in itself helps to develop that innate knowing.
Right. Letting go of beliefs.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Wow. I want to thank you, Neil, and I want to thank you, Mohammed, for coming out with me to the beautiful sunshine on this gorgeous Sunday, September in 2015. Thank you very much.
Thank you.